We need to hold ourselves accountable. Because if government is not doing what we want them to do, now let's say government comes out and says, what are you doing? We are trying, but what are you doing?
Young people are still pushing forward. We're still creating avenues for ourselves, regardless of what our circumstances are.
Try. Take the risk. Click on those links. You find them buying data, being on TikTok 24/7, watching insults, commenting on them. But there are opportunities, there are job opportunities, there are links that lead to scholarships.
Do we need more people who can tie and dye gara, or do we need more people who are updated in terms of technology, in terms of AI?
So leadership is not just politics. It's in your relationship, it's in the friendship you move with, it's in every action you do on a daily basis. Every action we take outside our political space has a tendency of being the reason why the political space becomes toxic.
Welcome to Honestly Speaking, a podcast where we have honest conversations about issues shaping our lives. I'm Antonia Howard, and in this episode, we're talking about youth leadership in Sierra Leone, not just as a buzzword, but in real practical terms. Africa has the youngest population, and therefore Sierra Leone is no exception. Our youth are celebrated for energy, ideas, and potential, but potential means nothing if it isn't realized. And a youth population is only an asset if it is healthy, skilled, and educated. So across Sierra Leone, young people are creating their own paths, starting initiatives, leading movements, proving that leadership is by vision and accountability and not by age. Yet, the power still sits with the older generation. But the truth is, it's not just about the older generation giving up power. We also have to look at our own shortcomings as a youth population. The complaints often include young people lacking consistency, being unwilling to work, and expecting quick reward, after having putting in a little work. So today, I'm having this conversation with my guest in the studio, and the real question is, are Sierra Leone's youth really ready to lead? My guest is Mariama Sahid. She's an activist, someone who has dedicated her career to advocacy and service to society. She mentors and engages young Sierra Leoneans. She's challenging stereotypes and is building a pathway for the next generation to lead with confidence and competence. So welcome to Honestly Speaking, Mariama.
Thank you very much, Antonia. I'm happy to be here.
And I'm happy to have you on the podcast. My first question to you is, what inspired you to do the work that you're doing now?
My inspiration is very personal. As a young person living in Sierra Leone at the age of 9 years old, I had a dream of being in a country where everything was okay. And I did achieve that dream at a very young age. At the age of 9, I was taken to UK, experienced the luxury, not having to think about rain coming and meeting me in a classroom and I have to run back home. So I knew how it felt at that young age. I experienced 24 hours electricity. I was given all the privileges. But unfortunately, due to avoidable circumstances, I found myself back in Africa with burnt documents, passport burnt right in my face at the age of 13 years old. And I promised myself one thing, that whatever thought the person that did what he did to me did would not define me. There was one thing that I heard about my country when I was in the Gambia, when I was left on the streets, and that my country was known for cutting hands. My country was known for prostitution. So when I came back home, I promised myself one thing. I want to become a president. Why? Because I don't want to see people suffer. That was something I put in my head. When I was standing in the middle of there's this roundabout in Cambia, when I came through Guinea, and I stood there, I'm like, I don't want to see people suffer. I didn't know how to speak the Creole then. Like I was in the English and Wolof. I can speak the Wolof very well. I said, maybe if I become president, I'll take the kids off the street. Maybe if I become president, I'll be able to feed these people that have to beg, because you're standing there drinking water and you see someone come, how do they forgotten Nanabi, and I hated that view. I hated it so badly. So from that moment, I had a journey that I knew I had to step into. When I came, I embarked on my WAS exams because I was at St. Joseph's Secondary School in the Gambia. After my WAS, I got my requirements straight to the mass communications department. And that's where I started volunteering with the City and Cotton Tree Radio. And I found my purpose. I found myself giving opportunities to people to talk about things, going to the market, hearing the stories, the difficulties in price, inflation, and all these things. Through that, my colleagues in campus, they'd always assign responsibilities to me. Even when I was in school back in the Gambia, always, na Mariam, na sabi talk. Like, she's the one that knows how to talk. She's bold. And of course, I was always the one that I would always stand up for things. If something is not right, I'll say it. Even when I was in class 6, because I was repeated whilst I was in the Gambia too, there was this time a teacher was beating the student. She was blind, one eye was blind. And I stood up, he hit me on the foot, split my leg, bad. But that didn't stop me. I still held the cane. So I found myself always standing up for things, and I knew God had a reason why I had that bold mind to always have to stop things. I knew I had something in me that required me to push. And if I didn't push, I wouldn't be able to achieve the goals. So I started mobilizing resources for people that were sick. There were many opportunities at the mass communications department where I had to mobilize resources for my colleagues. So that's where it started. This journey of leadership started from people assigning it to me. Yeah. Because I don't know what they saw in me, but they've been giving it to me, and I decided to just grab it and accept it. And then I started. There was this opportunity that I saw on the media to volunteer with the Media Initiative for Women and Girls Empowerment. Adam Asila, the former president of the Student Union government, from the Media Initiative for Women and Girls Empowerment, the FA Cole Foundation, because I met the FA Cole Foundation, my mentor, Frances Anne-Marie Cole, Whitlock, who is in the United States, through an engagement where Adam Asila went to speak. So that's where I met my mentor. Meeting someone who relates with you, whose story aligns with yours, immediately we clocked eyes on the stage. I knew that's someone that I had to connect with. So I had her email. There was this time in 2018, in July, I was going through my worst moments, and I felt like I was being very suicidal. And anytime I closed my eyes, I was praying, I saw the lady. I'm like, this is a stranger that I met like 3 months ago. Why do I keep on seeing her? But then something kept on saying, reach out, reach out, reach out. And I sent an email. This lady called me immediately when she saw that email. Direct call. It called me from the US. We were on the phone over 1 hour.
Wow.
And, I could have lost my life that night, because, trust me, I take a lot of substance that way before kill me. Now, God saved my life. Yes. Wow. It was that bad. It was really, really bad.
Your own life journey is not straightforward, quite complicated.
Very complicated.
And I just wonder if you want to share a bit about the moments where you thought everything was coming to an end, and what was happening at the time. Because a lot of young people are probably experiencing maybe similar, maybe they have similar experiences and don't really know how to pull themselves out of that. Yeah.
So for me, it was a situation wherein, a young person came back home, no much support. I was very unfortunate. I never grew up with my parents, so I don't really know how that feels. But I've always been loved by people. I've always been shown, I make you go, Mariam, madam. Of course, Mariam has a lot of sisters. Of course, Mariam have a lot of brothers. But these are families that I built for myself based on the relationships that I've had. But one way that I've tried my best to get myself out of certain situations, be it family pressure, because as a young girl, we all go through these things. Sometimes the people we want to motivate us are not there to motivate us. So if you meet people who do not inspire you positively, that takes you to go astray. For me, I was fortunate to meet the right people. So what I tell people most times is, even fools get old. So age is not a means of saying, oh, they're wise. You've got to choose those you listen to keenly. Because some people, they advise you based on anger, based on what they've gone through, the pain. And if they were not able to come out of it, that bad decision they took that got them where they are is what they're going to tell you. So again, aside listening to people, aside listening to stories, listening to someone's advice, you ask yourself, what do I want to become? What do I have to do to become this? One particular thing I did, I reached out to someone I felt like could listen to me, understood what it meant to go through what I went through and how she pulled herself out of it.
Thank you for sharing your story, Mariama, and I hope it will be helpful for anyone who listens to this episode and is having a similar experience. We dey see young people, young women, young men, then get their own businesses, they're leading initiatives, young activists just like yourself. We're seeing young people who are actually making a difference, who are choosing, who are creating their own paths. But generally speaking, when you, even from social media, you can see many complaints about young people being unwilling to work, lacking consistency. I think even a couple of days ago, I saw a post from Hawawa. She was on the podcast. She said,
many people want the job, but
yes,
they don't want
but
to
then
do the work.
when they get the job, they don't
want to do the work.
Uphold the standard
Yes.
that they pitched, So when we talk about readiness, what is it? Is it mindset? Is it skills? What is it? When we talk about youth, the young people being ready to lead, what are we talking about?
You listed if it's mindset, if it's skills, the mindset leads to even the skills. Because if you do not have a mindset of growth, you wouldn't want to go for a skills training. So what I believe we should do as young people is to change our mindset. It's not because the job is available means you go for it. Are you ready to train yourself to master your art? This is a job, and it has to be done because they're giving you a role. It's like a role play. They've given you a role. They've told you the characters that you're going to play. If you do not play it well, it's not going to come out well. But what are you doing to ensure that you're able to act in that role? You're able to implement the things that they want you to do. Mindset. I knew I had to deliver. Not that deliver. I knew I had to deliver. And I am delivering. So now, aside the skills, youth are ready, but then there are youths that want it to be handed to them. So what us, the young leaders, myself, I'll tell you, I'm always inspiring people to be able to take up the responsibility and hold themselves accountable.
Because that's the question. Are young people, are we ready to take up our responsibilities as young people? Because as I mentioned in my intro, potential is only worth it if it's realized.
Yes.
And, they're not going to look, and say, this you get potential, but what do you do with your potential? And what do you do with the opportunities that are presented in front of you? So what do you think? I know there are young people in Sierra Leone who are doing excellent work. They are pushing boundaries, they're breaking glass ceilings. We see them on social media, we see them in our day-to-day lives. But many young people would say they don't have the opportunities. They would say they're not supported, they don't have the right support, and that kind of thing. So how do you think young people should be thinking in terms of approaching work, in terms of approaching opportunities?
Change your mindset. One, you want the work. But the work also wants you. How? It needs to be done. Because if you're going to tell, okay, hey, Antonia, now this, they do, are very good with cameras, and Antonia is expecting you to play with that camera in a way that would sell her out, because of course, she's not going to give you the camera to be playing around with it. She wants to give you the job, but you have to do what she wants, because at the end of the day, that's what brings the money that is going to pay you. So if we, the young people, are really ready, is when we're given these opportunities, these spaces, we have to take advantage of it. A few weeks ago, Madam Ariana Oluwale, she posted on social media, many of the youths are requesting for opportunities, but when you give it to them, they sit around doing nothing. One thing that I believe that we, the youths, should do is to ensure we understand what it means to be given these opportunities. And the second is to sell yourself. The third is to look for the opportunities. Trust me, some people will tell you, "Anna, system man them, system man them, system man them." But I've approached system man them for opportunities that were meant for system people, and it was given to me, even though I'm not a system person. The idea of trying all means to fix a mindset in something in your mindset that it will not be given to me because I'm not a system person. Try. Take the risk. Click on those links. You find them buying data, being on TikTok 24/7, watching insults, commenting on them. But there are opportunities, there are job opportunities, there are links that lead to scholarships. They're not touching them. They're not taking that risk. But trust me, they will touch pornographic link for go and see somebody in private part. But then they will have issues touching the link, saying an scam business. So what I tell people, touch those links. Click on them. Check the opportunities. Because they're there. But if you do not click it, you're not going to get it.
Do you also think that there is a lack of trust because of these issues? There's a lack of trust between the younger generation and the older generation when it comes to work, when it comes to professionalism, because many young people have kind of misused the opportunities. And so it give all man bad name, like it give young people them bad name, because Sierra Leone is unique in the sense that we've been through so many traumatic events.
Exactly.
Yet, young people are still pushing forward. We're still creating avenues for ourselves, regardless of what our circumstances are. Exactly. You know, young people are still, there are young people in news every couple of months for innovation, for different things. But when you bring it home, when you listen to the conversation, the intergenerational conversation, there's this lack of trust that, oh, these young people, they don't want to work, they're not consistent, everybody wants money, everybody wants fast money. On the other generations' side, how do you think they should approach this issue?
Well, I do believe there are trust issues. I do believe some of the youths are the reasons why there are trust issues, because some of their actions are the reasons why some people are not being given opportunities, right? But again, I believe the older generation should understand that because one person doesn't mean everyone is going to. We've seen cases like as recent as yesterday. You saw on social media there's this young man that ran away with over 100 million loans and some amount of money, who was working with a particular institution. Imagine that. How many people have lost their jobs? Because if that institution decides to close down, you know how many people have lost their jobs? So many. But again, are we going to still hold on to what one person is doing and destroy all the other people? No. Now, what I tell you is us, the young people, we, the youths, should take up the responsibility to change the mindset of our colleagues. This brings me back to the International Youth Day that happened on the 12th of August, which was on Tuesday. I asked myself one question. Every year at the bash, they talk, say, they just they go organize conference, they go to sit down, they will snap. Because most times we're not given opportunities to meet with dignitaries, to meet with these government officials. And the moment we have an opportunity to meet with them, we run and go there. But you have people who come back on the media and bash at these government officials and say, oh, they're just bringing us together to take pictures. But some youths want that because that's what they're looking for. The glam, the fame, the pictures, the post. And I was like, what question are they going to ask me if I try to repeat that same thing this year? What did you do about it? I don't want anyone to ask me, what did you do about it? And I don't have an answer. So I sat there that day and I said, okay, we the youth, we have to start taking account of our actions. Who are taking the drugs? The people down in the communities. You go to the slums, you see them. I have videos. If I had a projector, I'll show you. And I asked, how are us, the youths, going to make the difference? I don't want to go and sit and hear you tell me about these people. I've seen them. I know where they are, so I'm going there and talk to them. Change their mindset. Try to talk to them. One time is not enough. We had to go there multiple times. We had to take a walk. We had to go around, see. We saw how little kids were pooing in these waters that would go. We saw how many people dropped plastic waste. These are the waste that blocks these gutters. We need to hold ourselves accountable. Because if government is not doing what we want them to do, now let's say government comes out and says, what are you doing? We are trying, but what are you doing? Because let's be sincere, it's a two-way thing. Development is a two-way thing. If I do not dump waste and block my gutter, I'm not going to ask city council to clean the gutter.
It's a topic or it's a thing that we not like for you.
Nope.
Say most of the thing that we complain about, we have a role to play in being the solutions. And the example you gave is such I go say a cliche now, because now rain season, and we see all these waste, the
blockages,
plastic waste in the gutters. We see the flood, we see all that they happen, but not to minister. They can't
go dump it. Yeah, it's not the minister.
And even if the minister does it, the minister is one person. The population, the general population, is a bigger group than those in public offices. So we definitely have a role to play. And I think us taking accountability is one step to the solution.
Exactly.
We need to take accountability for our actions. And we also need to hold power to account.
Yes.
Because if it is a crime to dump waste where waste is not supposed to be dumped,
where are
someone,
the authorities? Yes, where are the authorities? Yes, be there and ensure that it doesn't.
Someone should be enforcing the law. But on both, like you said, on both sides, we're not doing what we're supposed to.
We're not doing what we're supposed to do. So again, like I said, I didn't want to be asked that question. So what I did, I made a call for volunteerism, which I did through my organization that I formed, Secure Her Empowerment for Peace, She for Peace. And the initial plan was to have 10 volunteers. Antonia, as I speak to you, I had 130 young people who came out to volunteer. And I clearly told them, not to conference, we didn't go sit down for go talk about, for go this, for go do that. And they were willing. Guess what? I had people come from Kono with their own resources. So you're asking me when people are not ready? They are ready. Because if a person knows that I'm trying to hold young people accountable, and yet still they travel to Kono to come and project this message that I'm telling, they are ready. They are ready to take the lead. There's this other one that came from Kenema, Alima to Kalon. I told Alima, I don't have money. She said, I want to come. There's other one that came from EBK University, Unimac. I don't have money. She said, I want to come. They came. I didn't give them transportations. The other called her brother, because her brother works for one of these organizations. Say, I see Sister Mariama and I want to be part of her movement. And he paid her way. She came. But before that, there's a training that we did, which was on Saturday on the 9th. You cannot give what you don't have. I call these volunteers, they're not experts.
they're not that capacitated to be able to talk about the SDGs. So what I did is I reached out to some of my colleagues who are the implementing partners and AG Foundation, the Alpha Tech Global, Mahatma Kane is Mahatma. Oh, I don't know. He's like literally the name don't escape. We're used to calling him Mahatma. So Mahat told me there's this young man. He's very good volunteering. He's been in the space for so long. Samuel Toure, if you know him, Vionet. Samuel came on board. He even volunteered to sponsor the logistics for that particular training. He trained us. That's where I even got to realize that some gender students were not even taught on the 5 Ps of the SDGs, the planet, the people, what are our own roles to ensure that the planet takes care of us as much as, we take care of it. So if we're able to train these people who went down there on International Youth Day, I was shocked. Because you know why? Now rainy season. Nobody no one mass inside or Sidong Susan's Bay. You know the ideology of going down the bay. You know the ideology we have of people being thieves in these communities. As I speak to you, over 100 young people went down there. And before we went down there, we had to go multiple times to understand what are the issues. So being that we went there, we understood the issues. We looked at SDG 3, we talked about well-being, health, and all these things, those little sexual and reproductive health things that disturbed us. Buya Nabi Bangura, he's very good with sexual reproductive health. He has an organization that focuses on that. So we had 22 youth-led groups come together. You asked me, are youth ready? They are ready.
So I want to take from the strategy that you used. You said something around you can't give what you don't have. And mentorship is a thing, but it's also not a thing here in Sierra Leone. What role do you think that would play in terms of giving young people the skills, the idea, and just generally the approach, the professional approach to work, to opportunities? What role do you think that would play?
Well, it will play a very great role if the ones that are being seen as mentors by these young people take up the responsibility to actually mentor them.
And what does that mentorship look like?
Exactly.
Because
so now for me,
mentorship is...
Yeah, so for me, I tell you earlier about my mentor, F.A. Cole. She saw me. She saw what I had passion for. She didn't only invest verbally, she invested financially. My first trip to leave Sierra Leone after I came, through flight, was through her own finances. I had an opportunity to take part in the International Youth Diplomacy Conference in Accra, Ghana. And unfortunately, the sponsorships that I depended on didn't come, it wasn't forthcoming. I bought my ticket 3 hours before departure. My mentor was like, nah, you have to go for this. I know you, Mariama. If you go for this, I know you bring more opportunities for young people in Sierra Leone. She found a way, got the money, bought my ticket. I was on a flight to Ghana. The next year, I was appointed as the country representative for the International Youth Diplomacy. That was in 2022. And in 2023, I went as the country representative.
My opinion is, yes, young people want to be mentored.
Yes.
But not everyone knows how to be mentored.
Yes, how to be a mentee.
So what do you look for in a mentor? And what are your expectations of that mentor? For you, for example, now you've mentioned the financial investments, which I don't think many people who are willing to mentor
are willing to.
Yes, I don't think that would be their first
thought.
Yes,
it wasn't her first thought, of course, because imagine I met her in 2018, and I traveled in 2022. It was the whole process, 2018,
exactly.
2019.
So I just wanted you to create that context.
Yes.
You have to build a relationship.
A relationship with your mentor. You have to establish that kind of a bond wherein, of course, there are mentors who are far off, but for me, my mentor was a very close, for me, I call her my second mom. So when you're looking for a mentor, you ask yourself, what do I want to be mentored for? Because if you understand what you want to be mentored for, then you go for the right person who you see is trading on that platform. Do not just go for people because you see them on social media. Because some of these people, they were appointed. They were just fortunate to be up there. I tell you, I've come across people, be it male, be it female, they have big titles. The moment they open their mouth, phew, nah, Mariama, I'm not going to call you my mentor. Because not about you physical looks, not about your title, not about the money we get, because they are fools that have money. They are fools that have money. They're just fortunate. So I believe as much as some mentors do not want to invest financially, but trust me, there are things you do as a mentee that would make your mentor want to invest in you.
And do you think that, rather, I should frame it this way. Many young people equate leadership to politics. I think there is an idea that if you want to make it in Sierra Leone, you have to...
A politician.
Yes, you have to go, you have to, be a member of a political party, just enter through politics. What is your response to that? What are some other areas that you see potential for youth leadership?
That belief that politics is what would give the gentry and all the power is what deceives us most times, and then we lose focus. Leadership is not just in terms of politics. I lead in my classroom. I don't want the place to be trashy. I don't dump the trash on the ground. I don't want people to scream, and then I don't want the whole place to be noisy. I don't scream. I try to talk to my colleagues. Una put una voice then down. Okay, so a few days ago, I had an encounter at PZ. I was very frustrated for reasons only God knew. We've all experienced that. Sometimes your emotions get the better part of you. And then I was really angry, and I just blazed, and and I walked away after the whole incident. I wasn't comfortable with what happened. Mariam, you're a peace ambassador. You go there, you talk to people, you tell them about the things they should do. What happened there shouldn't have happened. And I went back. I told my colleague, hold this bag for me at the camp. He said, "What's you do?" I said, "I'm at the camp." And I went and I called the chairman at the PZ, and I asked, and I said, "I want to apologize." He said, "Why?" I thought you didn't feel comfortable with the way the man acted. I said, "But I wasn't also comfortable with it. I reacted." Because how I reacted ignited all the chaos, which was totally wrong. So that particular act that I did, when I went first, the man in face, when I asked for the chair, and then when I said I wanted to apologize, like we're boarding. I saw how relieved he was, and I saw how comfortable he was now to talk to me. And I asked myself, what did you just do? I just acted the way I should act. Because if I had walked away, I left a wound. Tomorrow I'm going to go back to PZ. Someone is going to see me. They're going to remember that this was what happened. It's either the revenge that could cause more chaos, that could affect another person that is sitting there that had nothing to do with what happened that other day. But I made sure I cleared that particular air. I made sure I apologized. The guy was even shocked that I apologized because I felt like I was wronged. But I had to take an action. And the action was not for me, was for tomorrow. Because this person, today, they sell orange money, they sell support. You don't know who that you get for becoming in the future, right? You don't know which position you get for hold. You don't know where we're going to meet. There are some conflict in political spaces. It came from somewhere. So these little leadership actions you should be taking as a young person in your area, in your community, in your house, in your relationships. So leadership is not just politics. It's in your relationship. It's in the friendship you move with. It's in the space you sit. It's in every action you do on a daily basis. So you ask me, everyone thinks leadership is in politics? No. But then every action we take outside our political space has a tendency of being the reason why the political space becomes toxic.
Talking about action, what you're doing and even what you did on International Youth Day is an example of youth taking action, youth taking leadership, visiting the slum communities, speaking to other young people.
Playing football.
Exactly. Advocating for change and advocating for accountability. Accountability to yourself, accountability to your community, accountability to your country. What kind of support, minus financial, because Alma wants money.
Yes.
But what kind of support do you think would go a long way in promoting youth leadership? And I don't want to use the word empowerment because it is flung around,
Anyhow.
But what kind of support do you think would help young people gain the skills, gain the needed mindset
Exactly.
that would help us to thrive, that would help us fulfill our potential?
One big opportunity I think if we would make use of is establishing a whole empire, a youth empire that has different sectors. Why would you come to my country, cut my woods, export it, and sell the finished product to me at a higher cost if I have my youths producing these same goods in my country? Why would I have to import chairs from China when I could bring an expert from China to come and train my youths to be able to make these goods, sufficient ones? Because if you train 100 people to be able to make these, imagine 100 people in the whole country having big factories producing these things. We have enough to not want to import. So what I believe is an empire, and I'm calling it an empire because we don't even need a small space. We don't need a small space. If we had this big institution that accommodates youths that come out from college and they don't have money to push further, but they know there's an empire that can empower them, that can capacitate them to produce things to the point we do not have to import. Sierra Leone has good youths. Sierra Leone has youths that are ready. I am ready. I am taking the space. I'm not comfortable with where I am, and I'll never be comfortable with where I am until I reach the point where I want to go. But we need that particular empire, that particular institution to be established.
Over the last, I would say 5 or 10 years, there has been an increase in training programs.
Yes.
I don't know how effective they've been. I haven't been to one myself, but there's a lot of talk about skills
training. Yes.
My question has been whether those are the skills that are needed in today's society. That's one thing, because some of these skills, we talk about Gara tie-dyeing, for example, which I know has been going on for decades.
For decades, yes.
And a lot of people are doing it. Do we need more people who can tie and dye Gara, or do we need more people who are updated in terms of technology, in terms of AI, in terms of where...
we need all that, Antonia. We need all that.
Exactly. So my question would be, what do young people really need to thrive in Sierra Leone?
If you're good with innovating new things, even that Garata and I, you don't design this over past the person. We don't did one over the years. Innovation, technology. Why
Do
technology?
you think that is lacking? Because then in our other problem, we see a lot of copying. Because this person
it's
did
just
this,
copy. But
everybody they do the same.
They're not leveling up. They're not leveling up. What we need is innovation, leveling up, upgrading, because these trainings are there. But again, we need the resources, not the financial resources no more. If you're talking about teaching people carpentry, before you they go and sell wood then to people that they export them, why not provide them and you train them people there for make them to how we need them, So it comes in our country rather than it goes out.
Right.
You understand, right? Providing the resources that we actually need to be able to do these things so we can be able to sell it. Because if now, let's say government says, okay, I'm going to train you on how to make these chairs, these things. We're going to provide the raw materials. When it sells, we have a percentage, you have a percentage. That's capacitating. Because now, you know you're not just doing it for government to go and take it and put it in their offices. You know you're going to do it for it to be sold. And then you have a percentage. Imagine that prisoner that knows that these things that they're doing, they have a percentage in it that goes towards them. When they step out, they have somewhere to start. You think certain thieves then go return back to prison? No, because when they come out, they already have a skill. They already have a startup waiting for them. The next thing they do, they hop on it.
Yeah.
So what I believe is we need innovation. We need upgrade in the things we're already been trained to do. Upgrade, innovate new things.
Yeah, right. I think as we round up, the question I would end with is, what signs do you see, or what are you seeing in young people right now that give you hope that indeed we are ready to lead, we are ready to create the change that we want to see?
Tuesday, 12 August 2025, with a total of 130 young people coming together, giving their little resources they have, paying their transportation to come to Freetown to sensitize young people on drug abuse. Where we had 130 young people go down Susan's Bay, we didn't have no casualties. Where we had young people play football, female play football, and we had a winner where we had a prize and we gave it no fight, no conflict, no hala. Where we distributed a sum of 250 pack of food. There was no fighting, no jam, no push. Those are the signs that they're ready. Because on a normal day, we would have heard that someone died, someone was pushed off the hook, someone was affected. Some of these young people that went down there were not comfortable. If these young people didn't wait, we organized this within 1 week. It started on Monday, and the following Tuesday we implemented it. If these young people were able to give their resources and not wait for donor funding, what other sign are we waiting for? The other day I was talking to one pastor, and the pastor told me, Christianity itself wasn't really about religion. It's about the way Jesus had to preach the mind, the things people did, their acts, the ways they behaved, how to love one another, how to share the food they have. He made me understand that the act itself, changing the mindset of people to understand they have to love each other, they have to be as one, was what Christianity was all about. Made me understand that. Maybe even Islam, because that's what they preach. How to become one, how to unite, how to understand each other, how to be able to love each other. If we're able to change the mindset of the youth, trust me, Antonia, we're heading to Sierra Leone that is powerful.
I hope so. For me, I think young people in Sierra Leone are trying. We are doing our best amidst
Everything, yes.
Amidst everything that's going on, amidst our different circumstances. And I think that alone is a testament to what is to come. Well, thank you so much for your time, Mariama. This has been a good conversation. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Is there anything you want to say, maybe to young people watching who are maybe waiting for direction, waiting for support, waiting for funding, waiting for a mentor to invest?
Yes, don't wait. It doesn't always come handy. Sometimes it's really hard. Sometimes it's really difficult. But one thing you should be doing is stay grounded. Understand the need for why you started. Because you didn't just start because you wanted to start. You had a reason why you started. So if you've not achieved that purpose yet, do not stop. Continue knocking on doors. Continue stretching your hand out. I tell you always, I'll tell you who I am. It's up to you to listen or not. But I'm always going to introduce myself. In every space I am, Someone has to know who Mariama is. Someone has to see Mariama. So always take up the space, take the risk. It's hard. It's not going to come handy, but do not relent because it's not going to always come as you want it on a silver platter.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mariama, and good luck with your many, many, many endeavors and projects. That's it for today's episode of Honestly Speaking. Thank you for listening and being a part of these important conversations. If you've enjoyed today's discussion, please like and share. And if you're feeling inspired, do leave a review. I'd love to hear what you think. And of course, carry on the conversation online. Share your thoughts, experiences, and ideas using #HonestlySpeakingSL. Until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and stay honest.